Hello and welcome to Hammer's Chat, everybody. It's the 1st of September, which means two things. The first of which, the window's over. We can relax a little bit now. Breathe in, breathe out. We can chill. The window is done. The stress is over to an extent. At least that type of stress is over. We don't have to. Fret even over every little news story that pops out, over every little transfer detail, every tidbit on Twitter. You know, we know the squad now until January, and that gives us a good time to reflect. This makes it a good time to reflect, to look at the window with a bit more hindsight than we usually would. Because I don't know about you, in the heat of the moment, there's a lot. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of excitement as well. When someone comes in, I'm like, right, Vlasic is going in. He's going to score 18 goals, you know. Whereas now we can look at it. We've had a sleep. Not enough in my case, but we have had a sleep. And we can think about it with a little bit more objectivity. That's what we're going to do today, because also it's the 1st of September and nothing is happening, right? So that's where we're at. Second thing it means, of course, is patreon.com/Hammers Chat, link in the description below. Extra videos from Gio and Gonzo, you get mugs of tea, you get pre-match videos, you get tactical breakdown videos, match day morning videos, you get stuff from me, extra stuff from me, you get audio versions of every video done by the wonderful Rebecca. If that's something you need when you're on your way to get a meal deal from Tesco, if you'd prefer to listen to the video when you're doing your job as a lumberjack, cutting down trees and that, you can listen to the videos there. Patreon.com/Hammers Chat, link in the description below. The window was all right, wasn't it? It turned out okay. There was a time where I was convinced it was going to be a complete disaster, and yet it was not a complete disaster. If anything, it was all right. It was all right in the end, wasn't it? All right. Still some notable things to bring up negatively, but in terms of the overall vibe, I think it's certainly more on the positive side than that, and it's good. Like, we came into it with a lot, right? We had the Europa League coming, so we knew we had way more games than we usually would, 50 games or whatever. We knew that David Sullivan's not going to want to spend no money if he can't help it, you know? He's not going to want to bring the cash out. I don't know why I'm doing that voice. I'm going to stop now. He's not going to want to spend any money. We know David Moyes is more methodical, let's say. You know, we knew he was going off to the Euros to work. The Euros were happening. That's going to slow everything else down. We had quotes from him beforehand saying he wanted to get a striker in as early as possible in order to be able to work with him in the preseason to get him to really nail down the tactics. Because the thing is with David Moyes' tactics, and this is something I'll maybe touch on in a bit, but the striker issue, it's very specific. His tactical setup with a striker is very specific. So you need someone who's going to fit that style. You need someone who's going to understand that style. And so if that means playing with them up front in preseason, just to really get them in the whole... just understanding it, then it's very important, right? And so there was a lot going into it, and for a long time we weren't doing anything. And I guess you could forgive it, given David Moyes was away at the Euros were going on, and we did get a lot of youth signings done, and they're all good, like Neves. Is that how you pronounce Neves? I don't think it's Neves because there's an R, Charlie. Neves, let's say. Okaflex looks really exciting, right? These are good things. These are good things that exist. And I'm like, right, nice. We need to see some senior signings. We need to be making movements in that direction. And then the first one that happened was Areola. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. Because I wouldn't have, although I did think we needed to address goalkeeper situation, you know, Fabianski probably not going to stick with us past the end of his contract, which is coming to an end. Our backups aren't good enough, in my opinion. I love David Martin. I'm happy with David Martin to stay at the club as long as he wants to play football as like a third choice and a guy just to be about, even if he is slightly in the way of Nathan Trott or Anang to an extent, or anyone else who's coming through the youth team as goalkeepers. I would be like, do you know what? I'm happy with keeping him here. Darren Randolph, whatever. But it's good. It's solving a problem before it's an immediate problem. And that's something we never do at West Ham. We tend to only solve problems when they're in our face, giving us issues. And even then, sometimes we don't deal with them. Strikers, we didn't deal with right back in an adequate way until Sufar, really, all the way back to, I would say, before Carl Jenkinson, probably. I mean, like, Zabaleta was good for 2 years, but that was always going to be a short-term thing, and we just don't deal with stuff. We tend to just plasters everywhere, just patchwork stuff. And so to see us go out and go, all right, Areola's done really well at Fulham. He's available on loan with a view to buy It just makes sense. He's probably good enough to push Fabianski for first team football this year. Fabianski set an incredibly high bar at the beginning, dipped a little bit because that was always going to happen, and obviously his age means that's only ever going to continue to be an issue. So in order for us to, it just made sense. It was the right time, the right person. We go, right, perfect, right age, right price. It made so much sense that even though goalkeeper was an immediate issue, we've solved that issue in the future. Nice. Still got lots of issues. We go and sign we then wait 500 years. Lots of rumors about this, that, and the other. Jesse Lingard constantly going on the background. We sign Kurt Zuma. The profile, absolutely perfect profile for a player you want to be signing, right? And it's something you can say about all of our signings is they have the perfect profile. You're talking age, you're talking sellability, that kind of stuff. Is that a word? Said it now. It's out there. Sellability, it's perfect, right? Kurt Zuma is someone who has a lot of experience at a very high level, to the extent where Chelsea fans didn't really want him, are sort of annoyed he's gone, especially seeing that I don't think they ended up, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they ended up getting Koundé over the line. So certainly some frustrations there. It makes a lot of sense for us, a 26-year-old, although look, Dawson, I think Dawson is the perfect backup centre-back for West Ham United to have at this stage. Like, financially, performance-wise, makes perfect sense. Diop, I have a lot of faith in terms of his ability. It's just a case of getting it out of him on a consistent basis and helping him to get to reach his potential. I don't know if he's ever going to do that at West Ham, but I have high faith it will happen. It's just a case of figuring out how to. And Ogbonna is Ogbonna, obviously. Stalwart, easy as. The dome exists. He lives. He breathes. He's a good lad. He lives, he breathes. I don't know either. I'm very tired. So the idea of bringing in Kurt Zuma, who are 26-year-old centre-back, to accompany those four, probably start a lot when we have European football. Everything else is perfect for me. Perfect for me. And although he comes in on a high wage with a high transfer fee, we could probably recoup that in 2 to 3 years if we wanted to, or at least the majority of that. And B, this season, our biggest problem has been defending. We have all said that Craig Dawson has probably been our biggest weak link. And so in order to go, we get someone who can instantly step into that, perfect, beautiful. Then we sign Nikola Vlasic, which is even better profile-wise for me. Now, of course, Jesse Lingard was existing, and I don't know if this is a controversial thing to say. Most of the time when I've spoken to people about this, the split has been pretty 50-50. But for me, I'm happy we didn't go back for Jesse Lingard. Well, at least we went back, but I'm happy we didn't sign him. You know, if you're talking purely on a permanent transfer, I think Nikola Vlasic is a better permanent transfer than Jesse Lingard. He might have cost more in fees, although I think wages Jesse would probably be on more. I don't know that for certain. That's just me pontificating, aka chatting absolute nonsense. But Jesse has no resale value. And again, we need to be thinking like this. I know it's a bit mercenary. I know it's a bit... It's not fulfilling the romance of football. I understand that, but we do have to be realistic with transfers. And we have to say, well, in 2 to 3 years, no matter how well Jesse does, could we sell him for as much as we signed him for? No. Could we sell him at all? Maybe not. He's going to be on high wages. I don't think he'd ever reach the heights of his first spell anyway, but let's say he was still playing very well. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then at that point, we're spending more money again. We're not helping ourselves. Whereas with Vlasic, let's just use the 30 mil figure, right, in euros as the baseline. I know there's like 8 mil of add-ons and whatever, but let's just say the 30 mil baseline for now, just to make it easy on ourselves. If he doesn't work out in 12 months, 24 months, we can sell him for somewhat of that. He's only 23 years old. So we could sell him for 20 million to 15 million. And although that's a significant half price drop, that's still 20 to 15 million for his replacement that we have in the bank ready, as opposed to Jesse Lingard, where we'd have to spend the whole 25 to 30 million we'd want to buy a replacement for him. It makes more sense. You're starting that conveyor belt a little bit. And if Vlasic works out, which I have just as much faith as Vlasic working out as I do Jesse Lingard working out in terms of like at the very peak, he's young, so he's only going to get better. And he's going to cost more than Jesse Lingard would. If he worked out to the same level Jesse Lingard worked out, he would be worth more money because he's younger. It just makes perfect sense for me. I'm happy. I'm ecstatic with this transfer. And the same can be said for Alex Kral. Now, the thing to say about Alex Kral, obviously, it's weird how the window works out, isn't it? At the beginning of it, we were saying he's not good enough because he had an iffy Euros and we ran away and we moved on. And now we've come back to him at the end when we needed something and no one else was around. The deal has worked out better for us. Obviously, we've got him on loan. Whether it's an option to buy or an obligation to buy, there's some discrepancy about that. I suspect it is obligation. But either way, the money is, I don't want to say punt money because I think they're saying 17 mil is the final figure. Although I don't want to say 17 million is punt money because it's not. For someone who's 23 years old and if it goes well, would be worth double that, 3 times that. You're having a grand old time. It's someone who knows, who's going to be happy to come in knowing he's going to play second fiddle to Souček and Rice. I mean, it just works. It just works out. It makes sense. And again, the age is there. The profile is there. It's just smart business. Our biggest problem this summer is that we just never got round to dealing with the striker issue. Which is wild because going into it, it was the biggest thing. Like at the beginning of the season, we were talking about, like on Two Spanners, One Hammer, the Hammer's Chat Patreon exclusive podcast for me, just for you, link in the description below, patreon.com/Hammer's Chat. At the beginning, in that, we were saying a lot of conversations were, well, we might need 2 strikers, let alone 1. And we've come away with none. And as much as I want to say, look, okay, we've signed Vlasic, I don't want to see him play up front. To be honest with you, I only want to see an actual striker play up front. But we can talk about the idea of, maybe we play Bowen or Yarmolenko up front. But then if you're moving Bowen up there, then you have to move someone else in, and that's moving the entire shtick around. And then you've got less cover there. So if someone gets injured there, then it's an issue. Not getting a striker was stupid. And in my opinion, as much as I love the profile of these players, and it's lived up to what David Moyes said about only wanting first team football for the most part. I mean, Alex Kral won't start and Areola's going to be pushing. But outside of that, you're talking about people who have got a good chance of starting. Anyone would be better than no one, in my opinion. And as much as, again, I appreciate the idea of we need to get someone who's the right person for Moyes, who Moyes wants, everything else. You're telling, and he wanted Tammy Abraham and it didn't work out. He went somewhere else, so we didn't get anyone. You're telling me there isn't a single other footballer in the entire world who wasn't the right price, even if it's punt, like Simmer, right? Like, don't get me wrong, Simmer's gone to Brighton now, he's going on loan to the Championship, so there's some arguments about whether he's ready. But you're telling me that's not something we could be looking at? I don't know. That's the biggest problem for me in the window, but apart from that, it's been good. It's a good window. That's the negative part. The rest of it, these players we've brought in, I'm very, very happy with. Very, very happy with. If you're pushing me for out of 10, I'd probably stick to a 6. Because leaving us with 1 striker going into Europe is maybe one of the stupidest things we could have done. But the people we've got in, I'm very, very happy with. Very, very happy with. I'm torn between a 6 and a 7. And if Gio doesn't see this, 6.5. But if he does, then we'll stick to a 6. But there you go. How do you feel? Let me know in the comments section below. We've got match day coverage coming up soon. Obviously, we've got the international break for a while, so we're gonna be vibing that. I think there's some. I think. Is Vlasic playing tonight? I can't remember. Either today or tomorrow Vlasic is playing. Kral, I think, is playing as well. So it's if you want to go and have a gander at the new boys, not in claret and blue, but you can go and do that. But hey, thanks for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're around to hit all that good stuff. Remember, patreon.com/Hammer's Chat. Link in the description below. And until next time, come on your irons. We'll see you soon. Bye.